the business opportunities available in renewable energy industry. By introduction, this is a webinar presentation. My name is OLANREWAJU. As earlier introduced, I work for Hydro Solar Wind Options Nigeria Limited. We are presenting this seminar at the 21st 2020 business seminar of the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship. Thank you. So, as a way of introduction, next slide. I would like to start by defining renewable energy. It is just a class of energy that nature replaces as man consumes them. That's my very simple definition. And many of us may wonder, what is renewable energy? The example I can easily refer to are solar, the wind energy, biomass, and then we have ocean energy, geothermal energy, hydroelectric, and the hydrogen, which they call fuel cell. So we see that this generally describe the various types of renewable energy. But many of us are more familiar with the hydroelectric, solar, and wind energy. Let me just slightly describe how these things are renewed by nature. Let's start with the hydroelectric energy. The hydroelectric energy is tapped from essentially through the natural water cycle. The rain falls, is gathered in the oceans, is evaporated, and then, oh, you are running ahead of me. The slide is running ahead of me. So we see that we are still on introduction. And many of us are more familiar with hydroelectric energy. And so we see that places like Kainji Dam, Shiroro Dam, they are from hydroelectric energy. Rain falls, you bring evaporation to the air, and the rain falls down, collected through streams to rivers. You dam the river draws from a height and turns your turbine, creating the electric energy. And that water goes back to the ocean, and the ocean evaporates again. So nature just replenishes that one naturally. Very beautiful. No environmental damage, except when you are damming the river. Of course, you have to displace maybe a few 100,000 people, but you are generating energy for millions of others. So it's a win-win situation in a way. Then the solar energy, of course, we are more familiar with that. On a few rooftops, you just see solar panels here and there. Well, essentially, the sun shines on them, generates electric energy, which you can use in your home, in factories, in different places. The same thing with wind. We are familiar with them. We see some wind turbines here and there. So those are the ones we are very familiar with. And then you see the renewable energy is the energy of now and of the future. We say now and of the future because even when you look at the giant oil conglomerates, they have invested so much, thanks God for them. They have invested so much in the research of renewable energy. And over the years, now they are reaping the fruit of their labor. There's no major oil conglomerate that doesn't have a renewable energy desk. And that is why, because they have employed so much money, and they are not stupid, and the future they were hoping for is now here. And that is what they are reaping. Over the years, as fossil fuel becomes more expensive, we see that the renewable energy is getting cheaper and cheaper. And some 30 years ago, in fact, some 40 years ago, when we joined this space, it was not when you are trying to market your product, you have virtually meeting a brick wall. And essentially, you see that makes it very, very difficult for you to do your marketing. So, but the good news is that Nigeria is finally waking up to the renewable energy industry. And because of that, the services, because this industry needs hands to service it, and because the hands are not really available, we see that there's a dearth of capable hands to handle the renewable energy industry. But we thank God because this type of seminar is a way of waking up our participants to seeing the opportunities that are available in the renewable energy industries. So for the purpose of this meeting, I shall attempt to draw attention to 8 major business opportunities in renewable energy. Next slide. The first one is manpower training. The renewable energy industry is in dire need of capable hands, like I said. And unfortunately, our institutions, that's the polytechnics and the universities, most of them do not have programs that cater for this, for the industry, really. Most of them deal in straight courses, physics, chemistry, biology, geography, and so on, history. But the hands that will do this work are not really available. They are not being trained because our syllabi are not constructed to service the industry. It's unfortunate. So when you come to the renewable energy industry, the capable hands are grossly inadequate. And we see that the gap is just being filled by virtually anybody, in quotes, called engineering, in the engineering field. And when we go out there, it is a disaster out there. Why? Because as a solar engineer, when I look at some installation, I just shake my head because most of the installers just feel that because you have panels, once they're on the roof, it's okay. No, those panels must face specific directions. So anywhere you see a roof where they have panels on this side, some facing east, some facing west, some facing south, that has been done by a quack because he doesn't know the basic things about solar panels. So I believe that this type of seminar is a wake-up call, even to the consumers, so that when your installer comes, you ask him a few questions. Where are you going to place your panels? If you say, we can put some here, you know that you are on your own because he doesn't even know what he's doing. And then the next thing is that you need trainers in this field. That's an opportunity for those who are graduates in HND, solar physics, applied physics, physics, electronics, science and technology, electrical engineering. This is a field where they can actually come into training. And of course, they need to go online to learn. There are so many things available online to benefit so that they can upgrade their energy, their knowledge in renewable energy installations. So, and then, of course, the installers, we will need about 10 days of training to be able to actually be proficient in the renewable energy industry. And apart from 10 days of 6 hours of intensive training, then you also need some practical lesson at least 6 hours on the site where they can learn the basic tools and the modalities of doing the installation. Of course, then each installer now needs at least 10 days, and that's 10 visits to different sites, because at every site, you see that you are learning new things. Let me just round this up on the manpower training. Then we can now go to product marketing. So product marketing is another area where we need a lot of knowledge about the renewable energy industry. Because if you have a bad marketer, you can demarket your product. So you need somebody who knows very much about the renewable energy to be able to market your product. And the first thing a marketer must know, he must be at home with the product FAQs. That's frequently asked questions. And most of the frequently asked questions, if he does not have the right answer to them, then it's likely going to demarket your product. Let me just go over a few of the FAQs. When you want to market your product, some people ask you, how many panels do I need? How many panels will carry a fridge? How many panels will carry a freezer? Then, of course, you must be able to answer that question. They can say, can solar power AC? You must be able to answer that question. Then, how many panels? How much will it cost to power a one-bedroom part? To power a duplex? Those questions are straight questions. They look innocent. Yes, they are. But a marketer must know, cannot just, any marketer who gives you, you need 2 million to power a house. That marketer has failed. Because there are other questions they must ask. Otherwise, what you are going to have is going to be a disaster. That's what we mean, that he needs to do a power audit. So these things are things that you need to train a marketer to be able to do, so that he will be able to tell you, he will ask some question, what electrical equipment are in the house? How long do you use each of them? Are you expecting power from the mains, or you have a generator that we are going to use to help you? Then where is the flat located? Is it on the ground floor, middle floor, top floor? And then where is it located? Is it in the coastal region, in the middle belt, or in the northern region? All those things determine what, those questions are very pertinent. They determine what costs you are going to envisage. I believe that this will even enlighten some of us who are potential solar energy owners or solar energy users. Because when you have the right question to ask, then you'll be able to know whether you are dealing with somebody who knows what he's doing or just a quack. So then the marketer must really know the renewable energy terrain. If he doesn't know, he will end up demarketing your product. Then the number 3 item we'll go to is in component manufacturing. In component manufacturing, we see that here, this is a very lucrative area of renewable energy because it's the cash cow of the renewable energy industry. You can make a lot of money. You make a lot of money from this. And however, because there are no local competition, once you are doing, all you are doing is component manufacturing. Component manufacturing means you're either in the manufacturing of solar panels, manufacturing of batteries, deep cycle batteries. You're in the manufacturing of coil, that's coiling the wind turbine. You're in the different components, connectors, cables, and all those things. Unfortunately, as the money is big, as the profit is very large in that area, you also have a large capital investment, which you need to invest. It can be very intimidating. And then the only competitors you have here are the foreign importers. The foreign importers. when I came into the renewable energy business some almost 40 years ago, what we had was that, well, everything was imported. And we tried to create our own niche by trying to produce some of them locally. We always met a brick wall from the foreign manufacturers because they were not really ready to part with their information easily. And then you see that it was a brick wall and we needed a way to get in. Sometime, maybe I will share my story here. My story at the attempt to go into manufacturing of solar panels. We did that and we were able to partner with another Nigerian who then, and still now, residing in the US. He was able to access funds. Let me just tell you my story. He was able to access funds at between 2.5 and 3% per annum, which is very good. And we did a feasibility. We drew up a market this thing, and we're able to get everything costing the land. We acquired some hectares of land. We did everything, got the papers right, and then he was able to attract about 12 million US dollars, which was about the cost of what it will to put up a 100 megawatt assembly plant in Nigeria here. That was around 2011. Yes, 2011. So the foreign input there, because all the machinery and everything was going to come from the US, of course, they are smart. They want to bring the money to you, but about 10 million out of that 12 million was going to go into components, that's equipment and spare parts and everything. It was okay for us at 3%. We said, well, so all we needed here locally was just about 2 million US dollars to put the infrastructure in place. Then, of course, we approached our banks then. Okay, they say we should bring our feasibility, we'll give it to them. They say, but you're only asking for 2 million credit. I say, yes, because the other 10 million is coming as components, as machinery and everything. And our bank insisted that no, first, because we knew that that 2 million was going to be given to us at about 21% per annum. So we say, no, let's get the 10 million there. All we need to do is bring the 2 million, do our work, and then they insisted that all the 12 million must enter their books, and we are going to pay 21% on 12 million. Of course, it was impossible. So that was how we killed that aspect, because the banks were not ready to cooperate with us. And then, even then we go to the government aspect. The policy of government was that the components, solar products, were being brought in at 0% duty. Good. However, the problem we are going to have is that the 0% duty is for solar products. If you are going to be a manufacturer, you must bring other things, aluminum frame, connectors, and other things. They are charging interest on those ones. So the only thing you are bringing in that is 0% is cells. But the people who have completely, totally manufactured everything with the aluminum, solar cells, and everything done in the frame, they are paying 0%. So we are competing against them. They are bringing it at 0%. We have to bring in other components at some higher percentage. So we are not going to be able to compete fairly. But even then, we saw that we can break even, because eventually we're going to start producing some of these components locally. But at the end of the day, because we had that challenge, we couldn't do this. So we had eventually to drop the idea of local manufacture of solar panels, because the obstacles were humongous. But the beautiful thing is that the biggest advantage we have is that we have very cheap workforce in Nigeria, very cheap workforce. So that you see that a worker that you are paying, you are supposed to pay maybe $1,000 out there. If you bring 1,000 naira and pay a Nigerian, he may run mad. So you see that you can manage the cost of reproduction if you had cheap labor. But however, another big problem with Nigerian workforce is that every worker is innately dishonest, right from the gate man to the managing director himself. All of them are dishonest. They are out to fleece you. So the only way you can bypass that one is by thinking of automation. So if you can do everything automatically, then you remove all the human agencies. And so component manufacturing is a big area where people can make a lot of investment and make good money. Then we can now go to component sales. Component sales, well, these are familiar terrains for Nigerians. So next slide, please. So we go to component sales, which is slide 4. Slide 4. There are really no entry capital barrier under component sales. We are Nigerians, we are used to buying and selling. And but the solar energy terrain is a very wide one. And what we can do is that you can choose which type of component you want to stock. And generally, there are two main classes of products in the solar industry. Either the Asian products, that is products that come from India and China, and then the products that are EU specified. Those are, and there's a wide difference between the two of them. While, for example, you are buying an inverter from the Asian countries for maybe about 200 to 300,000, the equivalent inverter from EU countries will cost you about 1 million naira. So you can see the disparity. And of course, those who decide to invest in the EU components, they know what they are doing. After investing so much, you see that you earn a lot from it eventually, because for example, in my own apartment, I use an EU inverter. I've been using that inverter now for 13 years. I've never had any issues. So because of the quality of the product. But for the Asian products, most of them, you are likely to have some challenges, especially if they are not standalone. What I mean by standalone, when you are doing your installations, there are some that are linked to the mains. In other words, when NEPA comes or when PHM comes, you can charge your battery. When you put, you can also charge your battery. Or when you are standalone, you depend only on the solar installation coming from the sun. So those ones, they usually don't have problem. But anytime you are connecting to the mains or to your generator, you are likely to have some issues. And you are going to be visiting the repairer very, very frequently. So those are the advantages, the pros and cons between the Asian and the EU components. So, and so when you are talking, but generally, many people may not have the money for the EU component. So they will rather go for the Asian version. And of course, they are also serviceable. At least we have a lot of repair shops all around that can easily fix them. And the problem with EU components is that once you have a problem with them, it's likely you are going to throw them away because you may not have capable hand to really fix them here. And so you have a choice to make between EU and the Asian component. My advice is that, well, depending on your fund, it's better you go for the EU component if you can really afford it, because they give you rest of mind. And for years, you won't. Then component sale, if you have a lot of capital, you can be a one-stop shop. That is, you are stocking solar panel, stocking batteries, stocking controller, stocking everything. It's a lot of money you need because you are not using only one type of panel. You are using different types. You are not stocking only one type of battery. You are stocking different batteries. You are not, so you need a lot of money for that. But it's more efficient to be product specific, so that when you're product specific, then you can specialize in that product area. If you are specializing on batteries, you know you are only stocking batteries. Batteries cost a lot. You have some fake ones, you have some good ones, and so it depends on what you want to stock. So you can see that is the fourth area of the area where you can invest in solar in the renewable energy industry. Then the fifth one, that's the next slide. You have the configuration design. Configuration design. This aspect is also a very important aspect, because in configuration design, this is the area where you need a lot of information and a lot of expertise. Unfortunately, Nigerians don't really want to pay for this aspect. More than 90% of clients would rather not pay for service of a designer in renewable energy. And in fact, let me tell you a funny story. I went to an estate to do an installation. Normally, when you go for such things, you look around for what you can actually easily use to make things easier for you. So in the estate, I saw a welder. And I said, well, I'm going to need a welder. Instead of bringing a welding machine from my office, it's cheaper for me to just get this man and engage him in just doing cut to this size and weld and do this and do that. And while we were doing the installation, somebody in the estate drove past and saw us doing the installation. They exchanged pleasantry with the welder and he drove on. The following day, the welder called me and said, Oga, that man who came, he said he wanted to do solar. And I told him to come and see you. I said, your own will be very expensive. That can't I do it for him? I said, well, so it was funny. You saw somebody installing for somebody. This welder is known to you in your estate. You know his work is welding. Why are you not approaching him to come and do solar for you in your house? So you can see, Nigerians want to cut corner, and at the end of the day, they will say solar does not work. Imagine if that man had gone ahead to install for him. What will he install? He doesn't even know what to buy. He doesn't know where to buy from. Maybe you could look one of my boys to do jagbajansis for him, and then he will say solar does not work. So those are things that we see. And there's too much quackery in the renewable energy industry because people who are using it do not really know what to expect. And then a few charlatans in our industry also cash in on that. And you see, you go to a field, somebody calls you, I have a problem. And that's the unfortunate thing. Some people come to us, get quotation, we give them advice on what to do, and that's all we hear from them. Later, when they have problems, they now call us, and they have done this for me, this thing's not working. And you go there, you see that they have done rubbish for them because the people who did the installation virtually did not even know what they were doing. and they just put something together as long as light comes on. Of course, for how long? 2, 3, 4 weeks, they start having problem. And then they now, so every installer needs a good designer. Because if you do, the designer is the foundation. If you have a wrong foundation, then you can hardly get the structure right. And the designer will know what power you are aiming at, how to do it, where to do it, and everything, so that you will not go wrong. In practice, what we do, we just waive the cost of design so as just not to embarrass ourselves at the end of the day. Because if you don't have a good design, then of course you are likely to fail in that design. Then every designer requires a lot of training, and then you become better with experience. And then let me warn us at this stage that every design based on the size of the house alone is basically a guesswork. What do I mean? Because you say, duplex, okay, it will take you 2 million, it will take you 3 million. No, you don't assess the cost like that. You need to know, because there are some single bedroom apartments containing more electrical gadgets than a duplex. So you must know what is contained in that single apartment and what the energy you need, even in that duplex, before you can actually give them a good estimate of what it will cost to do that design. Then we go to the next slide. Configuration installation. So we go to configuration installation. That's the next slide. For the configuration installation, you need somebody who's a bit competent. He needs to be good, at least good in the sciences, especially physics and maths, because he needs to be able to read instruments, read the meters, read your compass, because your compass is very, very important in installation design, in your installation. The panel must face a particular direction. For free, the panels are, because we're in the northern hemisphere, your panels must face southwards. It must face southwards. Well, when you see an installation where some panels are facing east, some panels are facing west, that panel facing east can only attract maximum 30% of the energy you're impinging on it in a day. The one facing west can only attract about 25% of the energy you're impinging on in a day. The one facing south can attract about 85 to 90% of the energy you're impinging on a day. The one facing north can only attract maybe about 10 to 15% of the energy you're impinging on it every day. So you can imagine the waste if your panels are facing east, west, north, and south. The only one that is effective is the one facing south, because that one will give you about 80 to 85% of the energy impinging on it every day. The one in the east is only giving you 30%, west less than 30. The north is even worse. So the panel must face a particular direction. So, and then you need basic skills to do that. You must know your south direction. Then, with installation, the installation crew becomes more enlightened. They become more experienced. And then another thing is that when after going through your basic training, the trainee needs to go out there in the field and be with a crew, a good crew. What I mean by a good crew is that the team leader must be able to explain to his crew why he's doing everything, why the panels are facing this direction, why he's joining this like this, why he's doing this like this. Most people do not do that. And the trainee is following you to the site, but it's not really gaining because he only sees you do it. He doesn't know why you are doing it. it is important to know why you are doing it. Another very important thing is that safety must be very paramount, because it's not safety of only the crew alone, safety of the user, because when you are gone, you have finished your installation, the user must not be exposed to danger. This is where the installation crew is very, very crucial in this field. And again, we can now move to the next slide, which is maintenance. Under maintenance, here, people in this group must even be better than those in the installation crew, because this is where they have to bury the badly buried legs of the installer. You know, there's a joke in the medical profession that is the people who do the internet that bury all the errors of the doctor because all the legs that is showing. So the maintenance crew will be able to correct all the errors during that installation, and even in the course of using, especially if you are connecting to the mains. The mains is usually what damages most of our system, because the voltage is always very erratic. Some come very low, some come very high, and it becomes a problem for most of this equipment because they are configured for their own environment where things are more stable. So, and then the maintenance crew must be very good at troubleshooting. Troubleshooting means you must be able to identify where the fault lies in the equipment, and you must be able to take out the bad one and replace the good one without damaging other good one before you do the repair. But generally, because of our labor that is very cheap here locally, it is always far, far cheaper to repair an equipment than to replace. You can imagine if you have bought your equipment inverter, which is usually the one that damages frequently. You bought it for maybe 300,000, and you can easily go out there and repair with maybe less than 50,000. You are still good to go. So it's far cheaper to repair than to replace. So all these areas are lucrative areas to invest in solar energy and renewable energy, because with little or little experience, you can easily tap into all those fields. And maybe 2 weeks training, you're already an installer, and maybe another 2 weeks extra, you are a maintenance engineer. Then by the time you do quite some installation, then you become good at design. Then the next one is the scrap and recycling. This also is a gold mine, because here you virtually require no skill in scrap and recycling. It's an area where you have a lot of money that you can make. The so-called dead batteries, they are very lucrative business, because the dead battery is a nuisance to the owner. They are too heavy to move around, too bulky to hide anywhere. So the scrap man will just come and pay you peanuts as far as you are concerned. As far as he's concerned, he pays you peanuts, and he goes there. Virtually every part of that dead battery is recyclable, and it is good money. The battery you have bought for maybe 150,000, then the dead one you sell it for about 25, 30,000, and you are happy that you have not lost everything, because it was becoming a nuisance. The malam who carries it away takes it to the recycle center. He makes his own money there, and then when we are not yet there, but we are getting there very soon. When the solar panel starts becoming ineffective, an average solar panel should give you service for between 25 and 30 years. So you have a lot. So we have not started having that problem here. But out there in Europe, many of them have used their panels for more than 30 years. So they need to clear the space and replace with new ones. So managing the scrap is becoming a problem there. But here we are still getting there. And so then, excuse me. Then of course we do a lot of business selling all the other scrap. That is with the wind turbine. You can easily recycle all the coils when they get old, even the towers on which it's standing. If you are not continuing, they are good money. You can sell them at good money. And then, so virtually everything in renewable energy is very useful in the scrapping business. And the beauty of renewable energy is that you can always tap your energy from different sources. You can use your solar, combine it with the wind turbine, and then you are not handicapped because the sun is only up for a few hours in the day, between maybe 8 o'clock in the morning and 4 in the evening. And then if you are combining that one with the wind energy, then of course the wind is always blowing. So the opportunities there are very, very big. So then the opportunities. So as we have seen, we can see that, let's move to the next slide. As we have seen, the opportunities in the renewable energy industries is very, very big. And at least we have been able to go through 8 different areas where each and every one of us can plug into at our level. So don't say, I only have WIEC, I cannot be employed. You can be gainfully employed in renewable energy. Don't say, I only have a BSc physics or BSc anything. You can easily upgrade your knowledge online and you become an expert before you know it in renewable energy. And then the takeoff capital in the component manufacturing is also not insurmountable. Only that if I wish our banks would be more friendly in funding renewable energy industry. Then the scrap, of course, we have seen that the scrap side is very, very lucrative. So I don't know, maybe we can now go to questions and answer. So if we have a few questions, let's see how we can handle your questions. So you are welcome. We welcome you to join the renewable energy industry. It is the energy of today and tomorrow. And we generate energy without accumulating any carbon footprint. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time.
Yeah.
If there are questions, please, they will be in the chat room. If you can take a few questions, that would help us to please move forward. Do you want me to read them out, or you want to read them from your screen and just answer them, sir? What do you prefer?
I think you read out because the screen is.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So here is one question.
Okay.
Yes. Can we then conclude that people without background in sciences and engineering may not be able to learn this trade? Question from Benga Motosho.
No.
Is your company open to train interested people?
No, it's open. You can be trained. Once you can go online to upgrade your knowledge, then it's only easier for people in the science with science background to do it. It's only easier because they already have some basic knowledge of the sciences. So it's easier for them. In fact, the most difficult people to train are the electrical engineers, because they already have, in the solar industry, the electrical engineer is a very wasteful designer. I'm sorry to say, because in solar, every watt counts. It's very expensive. So because we know how to gather it, you have a big panel. Maybe the solar panel says it can give you 300 watts. 300 watts that you wrote on it is only the energy it can give you when the sun is at the zenith at 12 noon, and the solar panel is facing the sun directly. That's the trick they use in telling you 300 watts panel. We know, the solar engineer knows that what that panel is actually giving you in the morning may be less than 150 watts. In the evening, it may be less than 100 watts. So, because the panel, the panel is facing one direction, and the sun is moving from the east to the west, it only gives its maximum when it is overhead. Any other time is not giving its highest efficiency. So, and you see that there you have some challenges. So, somebody with a science background will know that that direction is very, very critical. So you must get it right. The orientation, the everything must be right. Otherwise, you are not tapping maximally for your installation. So that's why we prefer even somebody who is not really knowledgeable, but who is eager to learn, easier to train. Next question.
So there's a couple of other questions. There are a couple of other questions, sir. I have, throw more light on the problems that can emerge from using the generator or PHCN to recharge your inverter.
Yes, the problem that rises from there is that, one, let me start with PHCN. Sometimes you see that the bulb that used to be bright is a bit dull. It means the voltage coming in is low. Normally, ideally, the voltage coming to your house should be about 200 volts. But sometimes when you put a meter on that light coming in, because of the heavy load on the lines, it may be reading 120 or 140. And the inverter is designed to use 220. So the inverter will try to bring it up to that 220 to be able to charge your batteries. And if it's not properly done, that's the design of the inverter is not properly done, it can burn your coils, it can burn your transformer, and then you have to take it to the maintenance guy to replace that power area. Most of the problem with inverter is from the power section, because that is the challenge you have from the unreliable voltage coming from the mains. Your generator too, when you start your generator, and then sometimes you see that it is bright because there's no load on it. And if your controller is not very efficient, instead of giving you 220 volts, it may give you 240 or 260. That 260 is enough to burn your inverter. And then you end up at the repair center. So those are the challenges in connecting your inverter to the mains or the generator, or both of them, because you have to take that risk. And to avoid it, you either go completely solar, or you do a hybrid, solar and wind. In that case, you are combining both solar and wind together. When solar, because the sun is only available for a particular period of time, and then the wind, most of the time, sometimes the wind is also still. But however, if you combine the two, you are likely to have stable power supply. And then if you also combine the two, you may invest less on batteries, because That's it, because batteries is actually the most expensive aspect of solar installation. The batteries are the most expensive. While you are spending maybe about 20% your solar component, you are investing about 50 to 60% on batteries. So most people do not really want to spend that much on battery. So if you don't want to spend too much on batteries, then you do a hybrid installation, solar and wind, so that you can minimize the quantity of battery you are using, because now you are sending your charge from in the daytime through the sun, or when there's a cloud cover, the wind is always blowing when there's a cloud cover. So it's a win-win situation. So I hope I've been able to throw light on that question.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. I'll just take a few more questions so that we can close out. There's another question here. Which battery is better, tubular or dry cell?
Well, the two type of batteries, they are okay, but you need the dry cell is easier to maintain because you are not doing any maintenance here. But in Nigeria, we have a very bad habit of maintenance. Otherwise, the one that you can top up the liquid is usually a better choice. But most of us will forget and the battery will dry, and then you lose your battery immediately. Because once the cells are exposed to air, you have virtually lost that battery. But the dry cells are more available now. In fact, it's almost the wet cells are virtually disappearing because of our maintenance history.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
One more question, sir. Solar technology is highly in need these days. Is there anyone who can get this technology, and is there any way one can get this technology and pay in installments?
Yes, that's the good aspect about it now, because the banks are now realizing that, well, before they are ready to pay upfront for a generator, and but they didn't want to touch solar. But I think some of the banks are now waking up to the fact that investing in solar is even a better investment, more reliable investment than investing in generators. Of course, I'm marketing my solar and not generator. So banks are now realizing that, and because some 30 years ago, you take solar to any bank, they'll drive you away. But they are listening now because, of course, they see that it's the energy of the future. In fact, it's the energy of now. If you are not solar, then you are in trouble because the cost of solar has been going down, and the cost of diesel have been skyrocketing. In fact, people are shutting down because of maintenance of their generators. So banks are there. They are able to, especially once you can show that maybe you are employed somewhere, you have a regular salary coming in, you don't have problem getting loans to install solar.
Okay, thank you very much. One last question so that we can move forward is, are there national laws that can limit use of standalone renewable energy setup?
No, there's no national law for now. But if you want to, if you are on your own, in your own house, there's nothing hindering you. But I think when you now want to power maybe a whole village or this thing, then you need to go to National Energy Regulatory Body to obtain some permits. But if it's your house or your office, there's no law yet for that.